Hello students, I hope you are all doing good, and I'm sure you must be going through the slides and the other study materials that I have provided and sent through Google Classroom. And today I'm going to make this, I'm making this video lecture for your understanding, because we are going to cover two very important topics, and we are going to discuss what are CW, that is continuous wave lasers, and pulse lasers, and then we are going to talk about how laser pulses are generated. So these are extremely important from the perspective of lasers. Let's move ahead. So firstly, let's talk about the performance of a laser in terms of its beam output. Now, the characteristics that affect the laser performance are mainly what? The power output and the mode of emission. Now, when we talk about mode of emission, so the mode of emission may be continuous wave, CW, or pulse. And in pulse, we either have Q switched or mode lock lasers. So these are the different types of laser beam outputs that we have. Now, when we talk about CW laser, what is it? So CW laser, it emits a continuous beam of light as long as the medium is excited. So it will continuously emit the beam of light, and it will be a very stable one. Now, next comes what? Next is the pulse laser. Now, in pulse lasers, what happens? It emits light only in pulses. So constant pulses, but they are not, the beam is not emitted continuously. Now, the duration of such pulses may vary from femtoseconds, that is 10 to the power minus 15 seconds, to about second. So that range is, this is the range. And now, when we talk about pulse lasers, so the first thing is, the laser may be either, it may be made pulse by using Q switching technique. So that is known as Q switch lasers. And using this technique, what we have pulses from micro to nanosecond. So that is like microsecond lasers and nanosecond lasers, they are mostly using the technique of Q switching. And then if you want even shorter pulses, that is if you want to go for picosecond, that is 10 to the power minus 12 second, to femtosecond pulses. So in those cases, mostly mode locking technique is used. So these lasers are known as mode lock lasers. And this Q switched and mode lock lasers are very much pulse lasers. Fine? Okay. Now let us try to understand the difference between CW and pulse lasers a bit more properly. Like lasers can be operated in continuous wave or pulse modes. Fine. So these are the two options that we have to operate a laser. Now, for CW lasers, the energy is continuously pumped, and as a result, it produces a continuous laser output. So let us try to understand this from this graph. So as time progresses, what we are getting is a stable continuous output, so which is usually denoted in terms of energy, in terms of watts for continuous lasers. Fine. Now, for pulse lasers, the pump energy is applied in pulses. So there are different techniques for it, which we'll discuss later, and usually a flash lamp is used. Now, for pulse output, how it looks, so it is basically like these are constant pulses, but that at regular intervals of time. So this is usually denoted in terms of energy per pulse for continuously. Okay, now let's talk about the modification in basic laser structure. So the basic laser structure is same for almost all the lasers, but we can make certain modifications depending on the requirement of the pulse output and also the application that we want to use the laser for. Now we can do that. Like, how can we do that? We can add some electronic, optical or electro-optical systems between the active media and mirror. So we can add these components, any of these, between the active media and the mirror. Now what it does, it can help in modifying the pulse width, pulse shape and energy per pulse. Fine. And also in the generation of integral multiple of laser frequency. So these are very important for advanced technological applications for lasers. Fine. So by addition of certain components or certain systems, so we can vary the output of the laser. So that what we have done is we have just made small modification to the basic laser structure. Now there is something called mode locking or phase locking. Mode locking or phase locking. So any one of these terms are used. And there is something also called Q switching, and there is pulse shaping, pulse compression and expansion, frequency application and so on. So these are some commonly used methods that are used in advanced laser technology. Fine. So I have highlighted mode locking and Q switching because these two techniques we will be discussing in details. Okay. So as already mentioned, Q switching and mode locking. So these are the two options, like two techniques that we have mainly for laser pulse generation. So let's start with Q switching, and we will try to understand these techniques in the following slides. Fine. Okay, let's start with Q switching. Now Q switching is also sometimes known as what? It is known as giant pulse generation. And this is a technique by which a laser can be made to produce a pulse output beam. Fine. So now the technique allows the production of light pulses with extremely high peak power. Now how high it is? So this high means, so it is approximately in the order of gigawatts. So gigawatts is 10 to the power 9 watts. So, and this is much higher than the power it would have produced if the same laser was operated in the continuous wave mode. So very high output is obtained. Now what is this Q in Q switching? So this Q in Q switching denotes the quality factor of laser resonator. So if there is there are very low losses, then we have very high Q value. And on the other way, like if we have very high losses, then the Q value is very low. Now why is it called switching? So the term Q switching refers to an abrupt switching of the cavity Q from low value to a very high value. So that is why it is known as Q switching. Now so basically it is switching from low value of Q to the high value of Q. But remember, this change is very abrupt. So that's why we get short and very high power beam output. Fine. Okay. Although there are different ways of obtaining a Q switch pulse, but in general it is something like this. So Q switching is achieved by putting a variable attenuator inside the laser's optical resonator. So a variable attenuator is put inside the optical resonator. Now when the attenuator is functioning, so the power is low, the light that leaves the gain medium does not return and lasing cannot begin. So this happens when the attenuator is functioning. Now this attenuation inside the cavity corresponds to a decrease in Q factor or quality factor of the optical resonator. So very important point to notice that once the attenuator is on, or you can say it is functioning, so the losses will be very high, and that's why the Q factor is low. And once the attenuator stops functioning, so what happens? We'll have a very high Q factor which corresponds to low resonator losses per round trip and vice versa. Fine. So there is a switch between high and low values of Q. Now the variable attenuator is commonly called a Q switch when used for this particular purpose. Fine. So this is in general. Now let us try to make it a bit more clearer by going to the next slide. Okay. You see, the active medium is excited without feedback. How? By blocking the reflection from one of the N mirrors of the cavity. So this Q switch is basically blocking the reflection from one of these particular mirrors that we have. We have two mirrors, one is highly reflecting and another one is partially, and this is basically stopping the feedback. Now the N mirror is suddenly allowed to reflect. Now if it is allowed to reflect, what will happen? Suddenly applied feedback causes a rapid population inversion of the lasing levels. Now once the reflection is allowed, so there is very high population inversion taking place among the lasing levels, and we get as a result a very high peak power output pulse of very short duration, and this is for a very short duration. Okay. Now let's try to understand it graphically. So initially when the attenuator is on, when it is functioning, so the cavity losses are very high, as you can see here, and after some time, so in between the cavity gain is kind of increasing, and once this attenuator stops functioning, so what happens? We get this very high output intensity. Fine. So this is the Q switch pulse that we are talking about. So this is like initially very high, then suddenly dropped once this pulse is generated, and this is the gain width and cavity width, cavity gain, and then this is the cavity loss. Right? Okay. All right. So as already mentioned, there are many ways to Q switch a laser, and these are categorized into mainly two types. Like one is the active Q switching, and then there is also something called passive Q switching. Now in active Q switching, there are three main ways, or you can say the three main devices which are used. First is the mechanical device, and wherein we use shutters, chopper wheel, or spinning mirror. So these are used to obtain Q switch pulse, or in other words, you can use these are used to obtain short pulses. Fine. And sometimes electro-optic device like Pockels cells and Kerr cells, these are also used, and these are actually very frequently used, especially in Nd:YAG lasers, Q switch Nd:YAG lasers. So these Pockels cells are used. And thirdly, we have something called acousto-optic device. So these three are the main ways of obtaining active Q switch. Q switching is obtained in this fashion. Fine. And coming next to passive Q switching. So in passive Q switching, so Q switch is a saturable absorber. So mainly some kind of dye is used, and we will discuss about this in the next slides. And what are the use of all these methods? So they are used mainly to prevent the feedback signal into the active media. So in the previous slides, the attenuation that we were talking about is mainly obtained, and that Q switching is done by these devices, we can say. Fine. All right. Okay, now let's discuss in details about the mechanical devices. So shutters, chopper wheel, or spinning mirror, as already mentioned. Now what are the salient features of the use of such mechanical devices? So in this technique, like when mechanical devices are used, a rotating prism or mirror is used. Fine. And one of the mirrors, what it is done is, one of the mirrors is rotated about an axis perpendicular to the laser. And when I say about an axis perpendicular to the laser, means about perpendicular to the beam propagation direction. Fine. But then there are certain limitations of this, of using a mechanical device as well, because as you know, like as already mentioned, that the rotating prism or mirror is used. So the rotating speed of the mirror cannot be made extremely high. Fine. So we cannot make it very large, and as a result, the Q switching which takes place does not take place instantaneously. So there is this time lag is there. Fine. So that is not instantaneous. So this is one demerit, you can say, associated with mechanical devices. Alright. Okay. Now the second kind of devices that are used for active Q switching are electro-optic device, and the main components used are, there is something called Pockels cells or Kerr cells also. And what are the salient features of this technique? In this technique, the light is passed through a polarizer and an electro-optic cell. So there is a polarizer as well as an electro-optic cell. Now this controls the phase or polarization of the laser beam. We will discuss in brief about how a Pockels cell works. So this is very common in, as I already mentioned, it is very common in Q switched Nd:YAG lasers, which is a solid state lasers. I can, because I have worked during my PhD days also, like I have actively worked on Q switch Nd:YAG lasers, and in fact we were shown the Pockels cell present inside the laser head. Fine. So it is very interesting. Now when an appropriate voltage is applied, the material inside the cell, inside the Pockels cell, becomes birefringent. So what is this birefringent? I'll talk about this in the next slide. And in this method, or in the Pockels cell, by varying the voltage, the cell blocks or transmits the beam. So again in this also, like we have this Q switching that is obtained by varying the voltage. So the voltage associated the cell, so it blocks or transmits the beam. So attenuation is obtained in this form. Now two kinds of electro-optic switches are used mainly, and they are named as Kerr and Pockels cell. Fine. Now these are very common and very important devices. So let's talk about this birefringent. Let's have some idea about what birefringent is in the next slide. Now this birefringent that we mentioned in the previous slide is something very interesting. Now what it means is birefringence. So that is like a same material can have two refractive indices depending on the polarization direction. So a birefringence is the property of optically non-isotropic transparent optical materials that the refractive index depends on the polarization direction, that is direction of the electric field. So it is basically like, as you can see, this is for the same material, but there are two, there is extraordinary index and also there is something called ordinary index. So this is just an example that I have shown here for alpha quartz material. Now for example, it is observed for birefringence is observed for crystalline quartz, calcite, sapphire and ruby, also in nonlinear crystal materials like lithium niobate, LiNbO3, LbO and KTP. This KTP is very important non-linear optical material. It is potassium triphosphate. And birefringence, for now you can just understand it as like a material having more than one refractive index depending on the polarization direction. But when we study nonlinear optics, so birefringence is in itself a very large topic, right? Okay. Okay, now let's try to see how a Pockels cell work. The Pockels cell switches in a few nanoseconds from a quarter wave plate to nothing. So I'm sure you must have studied about quarter wave plate, half wave plates and all, especially during your optics classes. And so what happens is, like, this is the Pockels cell, and before switching, and this is after switching. So light becomes circular on the first pass and then horizontal on the next, and is then rejected by the polarizer. So when this is rotated, now this you can see that this is in a rotated position now. So after switching on, so what happens is, light is unaffected by the Pockels cell and hence is passed by the polarizer. Fine. So here there is kind of attenuation, and the beam is, you can say, it is rejected by the polarizer, and here the beam is allowed to pass by the polarizer. Fine. So this is kind of the switching, how switching that is done by the Pockels cell. Fine. And this is extremely important in Nd:YAG lasers, how Pockels cells are used. Fine. Okay. Coming to the next topic is the another way of obtaining active Q switch is by using acousto-optic shutter. Fine. So in this, as the name suggests, acousto-optic. So in this technique, a quartz crystal is used. Fine. A quartz crystal is used. Now when the RF is on, RF is the radio frequency is on, the light beam deflect out of the cavity, yielding high loss. So this is the attenuated situation that we have. So this happens when the RF is on and the light beam deflect out of the cavity, yielding high loss. So this is the off position, you can say, and then when the this is the on position, sorry. Now when the RF is switched off, the light beam transmits the cavity with low loss. So in this case, when the RF is switched off, we have our Q switched high power laser output. Fine. So that is how an acousto-optic shutter works. So this is a schematic representation. So input beam you have, and this is the quartz crystal, and which is attached to an RF source, and this is the zero order beam, first order beam, and it is allowed to reflect, and finally what we have is the Q switched laser beam. Okay, fine. Now this was all that we had to discuss about active Q switching. Now coming to passive Q switching. So in passive Q switching, mostly a saturable absorber is used, and in this technique, initially light output is absorbed by a die preventing reflection. So a die is placed here, so as a saturable absorber. Now what this die does, it is preventing the reflection. Now the die is selected in such a way that after a particular intensity is reached, now the light there is the light, so the particular intensity is, after a particular intensity is reached, the die is bleached. So and that is, it allows light. So initially it was preventing the reflection. Now once a particular intensity is reached, the die is bleached, that is, it allows the reflection, allows the light to pass, and that is, it is allowing the reflection to take place, and then reflection from the mirror is possible. Fine. Once the die is bleached, and this obviously this results in a rapid increase in cavity gain, and we have something called Q switch laser pulse, which is of very high intensity. So this is also very commonly used way of obtaining Q switch laser pulse. And as you can see in this schematic representation, so this is a pump diode. These are the mirrors used in the laser, and laser material like the active medium is inside, and then in between we have a saturable absorber, mainly in the form of a die. Fine. Okay, I hope this. Now that was all about Q switching that is done to obtain pulses in lasers, and the other technique is the mode locking technique. So let's in today's class I'll just mention a few things about mode locking. We'll take it up later in details, and let's see what mode locking is. So mode locking is a technique in optics by which a laser can be made to produce light pulses of extremely short duration of the order of picoseconds or femtoseconds. So till nanosecond lasers, Q switching is fine. So mostly in nanosecond lasers you will find that we have Q switching. But then when we go for picosecond and femtoseconds, so mode locking is used, and sometimes Q switching is also used together, but then it is mode locking mainly which is used to generate the shorter, that is these are also called as ultra short pulses. And what is the principle of mode locking? Now mode locking is achieved by locking together the phases of all oscillating axial laser modes. So laser modes, I'm sure you by now it is almost clear to you, and so all axial modes are kind of locked, having slightly different frequencies. So almost they are having of the same frequencies, and they are mode locking is obtained by locking those phases. Fine. And then interference between these modes causes the laser light to be produced as a train of pulses. Fine. Understood? So that's why the term mode locking. So locking comes because the similar modes having slightly different frequencies, they are locked together. Fine. And interference between them causes the laser light to be produced as a train of pulses. So this is the other technique that is used for generation of pulses, and as already mentioned, these are used mainly in picosecond and femtosecond lasers. Okay. So now this was it for today, and in the next class we will be covering the technique of mode locking in details, and we will see how like as we saw in Q switching, so there were different ways of obtaining Q switch laser pulse. Similarly for mode locking also there are few ways, and we will discuss those. And so today in the class whatever we have done is we have discussed about, we have differentiated between continuous wave lasers and pulse lasers. So then we were able to discuss about the different methods used for the generation of pulses, and mainly we have discussed about the Q switching technique, and in that technique we also discussed about the different ways in which Q switch pulses can be generated. So like the mechanical, optoacoustical ones, and then Pockels cell, etc. So these are the main methods of using Q switch pulses, and in the next class we will take up mode locking in more details. Fine. So please go to look into the slides and feel free to contact me anytime. I have already shared my number with you. Fine. Okay. All the best.